Imagine the feeling of dread encompassing your body, confusion and disorientation as you are being dropped off in the middle of a South American wasteland for 17 months. And then imagine that when you get there, you are greeted by a group of burly, filthy, disgusting, snot-nosed, naked men who begin to pick at you like a group of invasive TSA officers. This is precisely the experience of Napoleon Chagnon, anthropologist and sociologist. What Chagnon experienced and studied was ethnocentrism. It is an important term in our speech class, but it is also relevant for everyone in their daily lives. The Chagnon study is a wildly stark reminder of ethnocentrism and its existence. To illuminate, I will highlight the general components of culture shock that accompanied Chagnon's experience, his progressing adaptations, and how the final outcome of his experience shaped the sociological perspective. Firstly, since knowledge is power, we must understand the definition of ethnocentrism. Ethnocentrism is the inability to see through the lens of another culture. In fact, you can only see through the lens of your own culture if you are ethnocentric. For example, if I am a Chinese person and I am used to eating with chopsticks, and I travel to the Americas where I see people eating with forks and spoons, and I think to myself, that is not the right way of living. That is incorrect. Then not only am I closed-minded, but I am ethnocentric. I can only see through my own culture. My way and the way that my culture lives is the only correct way of living. And as sociologists, they do not want to be ethnocentric. So in order to break down ethnocentrism, they must travel and accustom themselves to different cultures. Napoleon Chagnon was a sociologist. He was a recent graduate, and he decided to live amongst a primitive people to receive kind of that badge that every anthropologist wants to have. They want to be able to say and to write books about experiences that they have in different cultures. He chose the Yanomamo Indians because they are the most primitive living people that we have in this world that still exist. So he went to embark on his journey. He planned to live with the Yanomamo Indians for 17 months, and that is what he did. When he first arrived there, he was actually petrified. He was greeted by a group of snot-nosed men. The snot was actually from a hallucinogenic drug that they take every day there, and they love it. They're very paranoid from it, so for that reason, they're constantly checking people. What they're actually checking for is just parasites, disease, and unknown, really. A lot of the reason why they're checking in the first place is because of the paranoia. So he was petrified. What he was experiencing was actually culture shock. He did not expect that whatsoever. He was actually very excited to go. But within the first few days, his diary recordings were all of how hungry he was, how dirty he felt because they don't take showers there. They rarely ever clean themselves. They desire more to get work done instead of spending time to clean themselves. They eat rats, they eat dogs, they eat bugs. So he was very hungry because that was not the correct way of eating to him. They lived among wild animals such as jaguars, and this was very, very, very scary for him because you never know if you're going to die in the middle of the night when you're sleeping from a jaguar attack, and he had many encounters with that animal and recorded them in his journal. So he actually recorded that he regretted starting the experiment because he wanted to go home. There was no way to go home. He was in distress. He was shocked culturally, and he bit off a lot more than he could chew. So what's interesting is how his diary recordings actually started to change. So I would say about 6 months into the experiment, he actually began to enjoy all of those things that he thought were incorrect ways of living beforehand. So he started to enjoy the food there. The food that he originally thought was disgusting, he now liked. He started to actually enjoy being examined and picked at by the people. He found it to be necessary even. Another interesting observation is that he started to feel like he had wasted a lot of his time in his life taking showers. He now did not find them to be necessary. He felt like he could get more work done when he wasn't spending so much time taking care of his hygiene. That was very interesting as well. He began to enjoy the hallucinogenic drug that they had with the snot hanging down from their nose about all the way down to their waist. The way that they lived, he started to become accustomed to, which was the point of the experiment. As you can see, Chagnon's time with the Yanomamo Indians was a clear visual representation of the definition of the term. This was showcased by highlighting the general components of culture shock that accompanied Chagnon's new abode, his progressing adaptations, and how the final outcome actually shaped the sociological perspective. While he did pass away last year, he lived 81 years. His work and his experience will always be an expedient part of the sociological perspective. Thank you.